Question is for you. I know last year nationals didn't go too well for you. Obviously, this year you're a serious contender. You're a serious contender. Walk me through what changed with your training? What improvements did you make for to put yourself in a position to win it tomorrow?
I think not a lot changed with my general training philosophy. I'm a really high mileage guy. I value a lot of just aerobic strength. And I think more, I was just finally starting to see the payoff of kind of all that accumulation of training for me. And then I did change my mental perspective a lot. Just I became much more optimistic and much kind of less in my own way, if that makes sense from a, kind of the mental standpoint of it.
Question for Charles. I wanted to ask about the team race. So I interviewed your coach, Ricardo Santos, earlier this week. He said he wasn't sure that you guys even knew the exact year the last time Stanford won. I was curious, like, is that true? Do you know the last time Stanford won? Is there a burden on you guys to, I guess, end that quote-unquote drought?
Absolutely. It was early 2000s, no? Was it? Am I close? Can I get a shot in the dark? 2003?
There we go.
Okay, all right. I absolutely knew that 100%. But yeah, there's a lot of pressure, obviously, historically. We've always tried to be a program, that's known as a machine, and, you want a machine to be someone that's consistently operating at the highest level. And, whether or not we've always achieved that is up in the air. We focus on this season, and I think, this season we've done everything in our power to sort of execute, and it's all just going to come down to tomorrow.
Yeah, question for Charles. Your team's ranked #1 here going into the championship race tomorrow. And how, if at all, does that status for your team influence you and your racing approach to this?
Absolutely. So I know there's various strategies one can take, when you're looking at a team race like that. And for me, in my opinion, the best thing I can do for my team is to go out there and try and get 1 point. So that's what I'll be trying to do tomorrow. And I think that's what everybody on our roster is going to be trying to do. And that's sort of, our culture is not, there's no given day where you should sort of reserve yourself for any place. We're going out there to compete, and the best way you can compete is to try and win it.
Thank you. More questions in the room?
Question for Nico. I'm curious how you feel your season has gone. Are you happy with the performances you put up so far? And then how does your fitness right now compare to where it was back in the spring for outdoor track?
Yeah, I feel like the season has gone really well. It's been a great postseason so far too, and I think a lot of that comes from the spring track season. I think that was a good turning point in a lot of my fitness, and I feel like that really came into this cross country season so I can kind of work on my aerobic side a little bit more, and yeah, I think it's been really good.
Question for Alex here, Oklahoma State athlete. So you have, I guess I'd call it home course advantage. There are going to be a lot of people cheering for you. How does that impact your interaction with your teammates and for you individually in the race tomorrow?
I think it's a huge advantage, honestly, just knowing that, out there we're going to have the most supporters, the most fans. It's really a blessing to be able to have this kind of opportunity. And I've always kind of said too that chance favors those who are prepared. And I think that, by virtue of having it on our home course, we're going to be the most prepared out of anyone. So it's, a really big advantage.
Thank you.
Right behind you.
Oops, sorry.
Keenan Green with Runner Space and Dystat. Nico, last time we chatted was at the Big Sky Conference Championships. This team is now starting to look like their peak at the end of the year. How are you guys feeling right now with your fitness and just coming into this meet?
Yeah, I think we're feeling really good. We've got a lot of momentum going into the end of the season, and I think we're really excited to race this race. And yeah, it's been a great last month here at the conference and regionals and everything. And yeah, we're ready.
More questions in the room?
Yeah, another question for Nico. The course, you were 4th year as a freshman, 2021, and then I think 11th last year. How do you feel about this course versus the Florida State course. Do you enjoy the hills? Like, what do you make of the course you're going to run tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, because I ran it my freshman year, I feel like I know what it's like. I think, I mean, it's still a 10K, and I think the only variable is obviously this course is different than the Florida course, but I mean, that doesn't change that everybody has to run the same course. So I think, yeah, it's going to be, yeah, a lot like it was 2 years ago.
Not a running related question, but I think it's a very important question for Charles. You were born in England, then you moved to the United States. There's a big game next week, United States versus England. Who's going to win, and who are you rooting for?
Well, I believe England's going to win, and I will be rooting for England, as I always did. I remember a very devastating goal let in a couple of years ago. Well, a lot of years ago, and I was a lot younger, and I remember suffering with my English classmates, and the people that I knew in America were making fun of me. So hopefully we'll get them back for that. We'll have a little bit better of a goalkeeping performance.
Hey Charles, this is kind of a question that goes on that. I know you. Like Jonathan said, I know you. You're from the United States. I was just curious. Do you have any familiarity with Rory Leonard? I know both of you guys run for the English national team.
Yeah, so I actually kind of met Rory online the first time that I was on competing for Great Britain in U20s out in Portugal, and then I really met him last year when we were running together on the U23 team, and we did a really good job out there in Dublin. We got second. You know, we would have liked to get first, but you know, I'm hoping we can compete again when this season's over.
Any more questions in the room before we go to Zoom? Hey, Gavin.
All right, our first question from Zoom is going to come from Don Private. Go ahead, Don. And we're going to, actually, for everybody who is on mute, we're going to go ahead and unmute everybody. So any question after Don's initial question, just go ahead and ask. Go ahead, Don. Hey, Don, you're on mute, bud. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah, there we go. Okay, thank you. For Nico and for Charles, if you guys ran at Honeycomb, and actually just about everybody was there outside of Oklahoma State because they were hosting pre-nats in Stillwater. How did that meet prepare you for tomorrow? You know, you kind of got to look at all these other teams and individuals, and it was like a pre-nationals meet very much at Honeycomb. What did you guys learn from that, both Charles and Nico?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I learned from that was, yeah, I guess racing the majority of the competition that I think that's going to be at this race. So I think that was the biggest takeaway from it. And yeah, it was just the size of the race is comparable. It was a great competitive opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I think with any big race like that, it's an excellent opportunity to really feel out what your strengths are. You know, when you're against, you know, some of the best competition in the country, your weaknesses get exploited more and your strengths, you know, are more valuable. So for the purpose of competition, I won't explicitly state which strengths and weaknesses I identified, but there were some, and hopefully I'll be able to use that tomorrow.
Can I have a follow-up to that, Gavin? Go for it. As a follow-up for you guys, you know, well, we've got a rare situation here where the top teams, the top 4 ranked teams, all have top individuals. And that doesn't always happen. Sometimes one of the teams depends more on a group and on depth and everything. So we've kind of got many individual battles going with the team battles at the same time. Do you guys feel any added pressure because of that or anything? Do you feel like there's a target on you?
I feel like, you know, it's going to be the same as it would have been, regardless of kind of like how that is. I feel like we're going to go out and run the best team race possible and kind of see what happens, try to score the lowest. So
Yeah, going off with what Nico said, I think you know, the only pressure I'm under is the pressure that I put on myself, and so I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself to go out there and force myself to win. You know, I don't think you get the results you want approaching it that way. I think all I can do is just put myself in the best position to score the lowest amount of points for my team, and whatever the outcome is what it is.
Absolutely, I think it's similar in my case. You know, the stakes are obviously higher, but I think it's stakes that would have been there either way. So, yeah, it's kind of just doing what we've always done and shoot for the stars and see what happens.
Thanks, guys.
Our next question is going to come from Ricky Quintana. Go ahead, Ricky.
Yeah, a couple of questions for each of you. Can you comment on the good and bad of the course? What are you looking forward to, and what are you not looking forward to?
I go like this.
Oh, you got it, you got it. Okay.
He's got it.
I'm looking forward to the last K. In our workouts on the course, that's what our coach Dave Smith has been. We've just been hammering that last K over and over after all our hard workouts on there. And I think that kind of gives us the preparation that we need to, when we get to that point, we know how to run it, we know how it feels. And the hardest part, just the rest of it, honestly. It's a hard course, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I think I'm most excited for racing another 10K. I feel like but all of the season we race 8Ks, and yeah, I think it plays to my strengths, and I think it's going to be really good. Not sure what my least favorite part is, but I guess we'll see. I'll decide that after the race tomorrow.
Yeah, I think the good and the bad with that course are kind of wrapped up in each other, where there's a lot of points in the race where it's going to be really exciting to watch. It's going to be really hard to run, and there's going to be a lot of striation there, a lot of people dropping off or surging, and but that's part of what makes cross country amazing. So what's tough for us should be fun for you guys. So.
Follow-up question on that. Charles and Nico, it seems like if you've been in other races, it seems like these championship races, whether it be on the track or cross country, kind of an attrition race. But all were right there last year with that nice big pack. And what do you attribute that to? That everybody's running so tight together, and no one really blows it open. Can you attribute that to anything specifically?
Yeah, I think a lot of the racing like that this year is adjusting to a post-Kip 2 NCAA. For a lot of, I think all of our careers, we've been able to have someone do all that work for us. So, yeah, I think it's just guys figuring out, whether or not they're strong enough to race like that, whether or not racing like that benefits them, because, in previous years we haven't really had a choice. So, yeah, I think it's just guys feeling stuff out.
Yeah, definitely agree with what Charles said. I think, the field is so competitive, so there's a lot of people right there for a really long time during a race, and I feel like that's just how it's been this year.
Do we have any other questions from Zoom?
Yeah, I have one more. Hopefully I'm not breaking up here. There's so much talk about super shoes, and every time there's a race, it seems like who's running in super shoes and who's not running in super shoes. I remember at the pre-nationals, Nico, I believe I talked to you, and you had worn some older spikes in the race. What type of shoes are each of you going to be trying out tomorrow? And what are your thoughts on super shoes versus spikes versus? Does that play any role in your race decisions?
I feel like there wouldn't be like a huge advantage to wearing super shoes on a cross country course. So I guess I'm planning on wearing the same spikes I've been wearing all season. They've been great on grass, so I'm gonna continue wearing those.
Same goes for me as well.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I like Dragonflies because they're super comfortable, but yeah, I think anything's going to be viable out there.
Anything else from Zoom, Gavin?
I don't see anything else from Zoom, but for those who are participating on Zoom, the sound has been pretty rough here in the last couple of questions, at least for me. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that. A reminder that we are going to make the full video of this that's from inside the room available on the NCAA Digital Media Hub afterward. That won't be the Zoom version, it will be the full camera that's in the room, so you will be able to access these answers. So thank you to everybody who participated on Zoom. I think